gearbox oil decided to wet its pants and it started leaving like a really big puddle of gearbox oil. To actually fold this down, get ready to be punched on the face, because if you pull this latch, this thing will just fly towards your face, and I got punched so many times just by putting these seats down. Engine light, when you close the door light still shows on. Now, being this Italian piece of shit, now parts are, we just couldn't get parts for it. It just started smoking, and it smelled like burnt cables. Now, this is my Fiat Multipla, and I bought this a couple of months ago, and in these 2 months of owning this car, it has been an absolute disaster. Now, for those who are new to my channel, now I bought this Multipla a couple of months ago, sight unseen, and it has done over 350,000 kilometers on it. And I had the amazing opportunity to purchase this car. Now, just because it's not sold anywhere and it's so rare, it's only sold in the UK and in Europe. For one of these to pop up, I knew I have to buy this. And I just bought it just under $4,000. Now, in this video, I'm just going to break down with you exactly like what's going on with this car, my whole ownership experience so far, and the list of what's wrong with it, what I've done to fix it, and what are my plans for the future. So with that being said, before we dive into it, I'm just going to give you a quick tour of this car to give you a quick recap. So now this is a 2001 Fiat Multipla. They come out with two different engines, the 1.6 and the 1.9. This being the 1.6 petrol engine. I would love to have the 1.9 turbo diesel, but unfortunately I just can't get them. Now, for some reasons, if this engine sort of like went bust one day, I might actually do a swap with the 1.9 turbo diesel, because it just sounds, the 1.9 turbo diesel, it sounds a lot faster and has a lot more torque compared to this little beast. Now, it may or may not be your taste, but this, to me, it's very, like, you know how parks are ugly but they're cute? Now, to me, like this is the same thing as well. Like, they are really ugly, but they are really cute. Look at that. It looks like a Mandarin, so I decided to name this car Mandarin. So the first thing that I did was I got a tint, and now so it's all like 20% throughout and 50% at the front. Now, I've brought this car to picnic a couple of times, and this is an awesome daily driver to just drive around, and it's pretty good on fuel, 1.6 liter. One thing I really like about this is like the doors. Look at that. Oh man, just look at how good it sounds. Oh, like unlike a lot of like these Japanese shit boxes, when you close, it feels really cheap. But this, oh, this is like my favorite part of this car. You will be greeted by this little, very quirky spaceship. Someone said on the internet, this whole dash looked like tumor, and that's what tumor looks like. And I can't say I disagree. Like, it kind of looks a bit dumb. Look at this little guy here, right? This little robot, right? I'm sure they did it on purpose. And the funny thing about this car is because this is like these trim pieces is broken, so this actually acts like a helmet. And look at that. Now we're exposing the head of this little guy here, right? And let's just put this helmet back on. You go on, yeah, right? Manual as well, right? It's doing awesome, and look at that. What a hoopty. And obviously the cover is missing, so I can't really close the sunroof, and then the sun, when it gets strong, like, it just shines into it. And look at that little sunroof here that is sagging as well. To get one of those covers back, I need to get it shipped from overseas, and it's going to be a long time and very expensive. Just little things about this car, right? And this has 6 seats, 6 full-size seats. Look at that. At the rear, it's like 3 at the rear and 3 at the front. I obviously no one sits in the middle, so I just fold it down to make this little handrest here. And these cup holders, they are just rubbish, because when you have a cup and when you accelerate, it will just fall off. So I don't really get why they have these cup holders here. So these 4 are unusable. So like the only usable one is just here. It's just enough for me to put my coffee here, and that's about it. It's very quirky. Thankfully, I got a higher spec model because I can see the tachometer. Some base model, they only show the speedo. They don't really show the tachometer. So like that's a pretty cool feature. Now, being a Italian car, obviously we have really excellent ergonomics. So I'll just give you a few examples. So example with my pedals here. I'll just open the doors real quick so you can see my pedals. Okay, so whenever I push my brakes, you see how like you will also actually press the accelerator pedal. I don't know if it's just because I have aftermarket pedals. I don't even know like if this is stock, but if you have a big foot, you just can't really. You have to move it, position it properly, and look at how close your foot is being positioned. So if you press your brakes, you will accidentally also press on the accelerator most of the time. So that's number one. And example number two is the window switches here, right? And you realize there are only two window switches, and this actually controls the driver's side windows, and this actually controls the passenger side windows. And you realize that this car has four, it has more windows than that, but it doesn't actually control the windows at the back. So say if you want to actually wind down the windows at the back, you actually have to put your hand all the way at the back and start pushing it, and you have to start feeling it. God forbid you need to actually wind down the windows on that side, because that's just impossible without actually like stretching forward while driving. It's just impossible, right? So that's example number two. Now, and the third example is the air conditioning. Now, the air conditioning, it works fine, but it doesn't actually blow at you directly. You have this little guy here, but this little guy is a little bit weak. But it's actually like the passenger actually gets a lot more air conditioning than the driver, because there's so many times when I'm driving down on a sunny hot day, I'm still sweating just because there's not enough air going into this direction. And also the mirrors, you realize there are two mirrors. Well, actually there are four, like two on each side. And here's the thing, the angle of this is actually not really like that good. You can't actually, on the bigger ones, you can't actually fully see, like there's so many blind spots in that top mirror, and the bottom mirror is actually for parking, so you can see the parking markers pretty well. And I suspect these mirrors are actually for a left-hand drive models, because it doesn't really make sense. Like, why are the mirrors so bad? It feels like this is for the driver's side and this is for the passenger side, because this, when it came out in Italy, this is actually left-hand drive. So left-hand drive, that setup makes more sense. But now, leaving the best for the last. Say example, like someone's gonna sit on the middle seat and you want to move those seats, and now these like the latch is actually all the way on the left-hand side. So when you actually pull, you can't actually lift it up, right? You can't lift it up, because your arms will be blocking the way. So if I try to lift it up, I'll have to use two hands, do this, and try to do my best to lift it up, right? Okay, not only that, now, if you have OCD, now this is gonna bother you a lot, because now this, right, it's not lying on a straight line. You can tell, like, you can see like driver's side, passenger side, and passenger side, right? It's not one line. Now, why is that? And that really annoys me a lot, because I have a bit of OCD. So now, if you don't have any passengers and you want to actually fold this down, get ready to be punched on the face, because if you pull this latch, this thing will just fly towards your face. And I got punched so many times just by putting these seats down. And I suspect this is just to cut costs now, because if this car were left-hand drive, now it makes sense. Now on the right-hand drive, the latch should actually be on the other side and not on this side. Now that is just, like Italian ergonomics for you. So not the best ergonomics, but this car is it's already quirky by itself, So let's start the beast. So just make sure it's in neutral. Look at that. Right, and it has some like error lights, no check engine lights. The check engine light has been solved. I also solved the door closing issue. So like this is just like the ABS pump that is not working. The ABS pump, I'm not gonna replace it. It's gonna be thousands to fix it, and it's not worth it. 351,000 kilometers, right? So it's done quite a bit. So now overall, the engine and driveline, they are really reliable, but it's just those little things. Now the suspension and just little like things here and there. And because now this car is more than 20 years old, it's 22 years old at this point, 350,000 kilometers. It's just like those little things that has been really annoying so far. A couple of months owning this car. So yeah, everything is pretty cool. I got my radio working again. The attention that I'm getting driving this car has just been really interesting to see. Now, and I think it's just because like these cars are so rare. Now, with that being said, let's dive in, and I'm gonna go through with you exactly like the things has been wrong with it. So let's get right into it. Now, here's a list of things that needs to be fixed. Now, some of these things I've already fixed, and some of the things I'm probably not going to bother just because it's too expensive, and the rest I'm gonna sit and have a think of what I'm going to do with it. So I'm going to number those lists so that way it's easier for me to reference them throughout the video. And I actually got this car tinted because somehow I make dumb decisions, and I think, you know, like getting it tinted is more important than fixing all of these issues. But anyway, $650 to get a ceramic tint of the windows, so I get a really nice privacy there. So 20% throughout and 50% on the front windshield. Alright, so now let's dive into it. Now the first one is wiper motors. Number 2, check engine light. Number 3, the door light wouldn't go off, so it beeps every time I drive it. Number 5, the cluster resets every time I start the car, so like the trip will just reset itself. The clock will just reset itself. The remote, the central locking doesn't work. Timing belt short. Tie rod ends. Number 9, shock absorber mount. Number 10, the ABS pump. 11, lower control arm ball joints. 12, CV shafts and boots needs to be reconditioned. 13, gearbox oil is leaking bad. 14, the gearbox oil has moisture. Now, when I picked up this car, I actually got a shop to do a full service on it before I hit the road to drive it home, and he already told me like there's moisture in the gearbox oil. So when he did a flush, he actually found there's a lot of moisture, and he reckons like it's been in a flood, or, you know, like it has sat for a long time and it just absorbs like the moisture from the environment. I don't know which one I should go with. So he did a flush, and he recommended I should get a flush. Another 1,000 Ks. So going through this list now, here's the thing. Now, all of these things, they are really minor, right? They are not really expensive jobs. Now, but here's the thing. Now, because a lot of like these parts, they are very specific to Multipla itself. It doesn't share parts with any other cars. Now, all these parts specifically, I have to get it from the UK or from Italy itself or somewhere in Europe. People do sell them online, and they are like, to get it shipped here is very expensive. So number 1, let's start with the wiper motor, right? It's just slow and worn out. It moves, but it just moves really slow. So the wiper motor itself, used, not brand new, used to get it shipped here is $500 for the motor itself. I don't know, I'm not going to spend $500 just for the wiper motor itself. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to probably like take it apart, re-grease it, try to rebuild it if I can. It's not really like a hard job. I look on some videos on YouTube, it seems to be doable, so I might just do that, and hopefully like it solves the issue. Now, here's the thing, the design for the wiper motor sits, it's really dumb. This is just exposed, like the wiper motors and the wiring and stuff, it's all exposed to the elements. So when it rains, water just goes straight into this little valley here. Well, I don't know if you can see on the camera, but like inside of the wiper motor is starting to rust. List 2 to 6, right? The check engine light, when you close the door, the door light still shows on, the radio is not working, there's a bunch of accessories, the remote not working, right? It's actually an easy fix. So I wanted to tackle the check engine light problem first. So when I plug my OBD scanner in, it doesn't actually register it, like there's no power. So I did a quick Google search. There should be a constant power going to the OBD port, and it's down to this pin here. So I take my handy multimeter tool, there's no power going into it, which means one of the fuses are blown. So I opened the fuse box, I checked all the fuses, and lo and behold, service 12 fuse was blown. And when I did a quick Google search, I was thinking like, what is service 12 means? Because it's not like every single one like is very specific, like radio or like some lights or whatever, but service 12 is it's very broad. So when I do a quick Google search and look at all of these issues, now all of these issues links to this service 12 fuse being blown. So I put a new fuse in, and it blows just immediately. I take a 40 amp fuse. Now originally service 12 is a 12 amp fuse. I take a 40 amp fuse and then I just plug it in, and it's sort of like it didn't blow. Now smoke started coming from the headliner of like this kind of front. It just started smoking, and it smelled like burnt cables. So it left a nasty burnt mark on like one of the on the passenger side visor, which is really odd. There's some sort of wiring going back there, which is not really, it's not the sunroof. I can't figure out where the wiring is from and why is it shorting out. So I pull the whole thing apart, and I just snip off the wires that is shorting out and put another fuse in, and like it works. So now I have power to everything. The clock starts working, like my radio started working, and my remote actually started working, and my interior lights started working as well. When I close the door light actually shuts off. Now I could not believe that it's such an easy fix. Now what really pissed me off is I actually brought it to a workshop to have this problem diagnosed, and they couldn't figure it out. They spent several hours, they spent like pretty much the whole day trying to figure this problem out, and they could not figure it out. They just told me like, sorry, like we just couldn't figure it out, and they charged me $175 for a diagnostic fee. I mean, it is what it is. So let's move on. Now, timing belt and tie rod ends. Now, when I picked up this car, when I brought it to a Fiat workshop, the tech actually told me the timing belt is pretty worn and you need to get that fixed ASAP. Now, they couldn't get the parts in, so obviously I couldn't fix it right then and there. So I drove another 1,000 kilometers while I figure something out. It feels like driving a ticking time bomb that's gonna blow up anytime. Thankfully, I got it sorted before anything else. Thankfully, I could find them locally. Timing belt is about $150, and the tie rod ends is about like $70 each, so total is about like $300, all shipped to my house. So $300 for all of those parts, and I just couldn't find a workshop to work on it. Eventually, one local workshop agreed to fix those, so I got the timing belt and tie rod ends replaced. So now, while they are replacing the tie rods, they told me, like the whole suspension, like there's a lot of things you need to be fixing. The CV shaft, the power steering rack. Ideally, you need to replace the lower ball joints, the strut mounts, just but a bunch of suspension parts, which I think is fair enough because the car drives really loosely. When you go over a hump, it starts knocking and stuff. It drives really loose. So he told me like, I cannot find the parts for you. We just couldn't get them. Try finding them online. Once you get the parts, you can just bring it in and we can just install it for you. So now at this time, the wheel start decided to shred itself. I thought, like, no big deal. I can just get some brand new wheel starts from, like a tire shop. Turns out these wheel starts are very specific to Fiat, right? It's M12 times 1.25 and 25 milliliters. It's so specific. I was running on, calling a bunch of places, and they could not give me this specific wheel start for Fiat. So the closest that they would get, one tire shop actually have like 8 of them used, and they are $10 a piece. Now, and one really interesting thing about these wheels is these wheels, I just realized it's a very specific bolt pattern. JDM cars are like 5 by 114.3, 4 by 100 for the Honda Civics. Now this car is 4 by 98, right? It's very, very specific to this car, and somehow the wheel start is different, which is, it's at this point I'm getting really frustrated because there's just so many little things wrong with it. So the total workshop bill for the timing belt and tie rod ends, rethreading, and putting the new wheel start in, it all comes to $960. Now, 2 days after I got my car back, gearbox oil decided to wet its pants, and it started leaving like a really, really big puddle of gearbox oil when I parked the car overnight. And turns out it's actually leaking from the drive shafts, and the drive shaft, it desperately needs to be replaced or reconditioned. Now, being this Italian piece of shit, now parts are we just couldn't get parts for it, right? It has to be shipped. So the only option is to, recondition them. So the workshop that originally replaced the timing belt on this car, they are willing to give it a crack. They reconditioned it. They somehow made it happen. That plus, topping up the gearbox oil, the workshop bill was $817. Right, so far, the last couple of months, driving and owning and maintaining this car, this car has been a nightmare. And these prices, they are not Toyota Corolla prices. They are Audi Mercedes prices for this piece of shit. Now, to get it fully sorted, it would take probably another several $1,000s to get this sorted, get it cleaned, and what have you. At this point, I'm a bit burnt out having this car, so what do you guys think? Right, let me know in the comments. If you have any suggestions or if you know any alternatives, feel free to let me know in the comments. So for now, I'm just gonna, now that it's kind of sorted, there's still a bunch of suspension issues that needs to be fixed. I think now I'm just gonna drive it and enjoy it for now, and I'm gonna think what I'm gonna do next for this car. So for now, thank you so much for watching. If you like it, let me know what you think. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, hit the bell. It'll really help out this channel, right? So for now, I will see you guys in the next one.